Good evening. Big exclusive for you to kickstart the show tonight. Why did the Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood not block the release of Britain's most dangerous jihadi terrorist? On Tuesday, I revealed that Mohammed Shah Jahan had been released from prison. He plotted to blow up the London Stock Exchange and carry out a marauding gun and bomb attack, modelled on this one in Mumbai.
A 4-day siege of the Taj Hotel killed 166 people. 9 attackers were gunned down by Indian security forces. One surviving terrorist, Ajmal Kasab, was captured, tried and later executed in 2012. It remains one of the deadliest terror attacks in Indian history.
One of his jihadi mates was Usman Khan, the Islamist who claimed to be rehabilitated but went on to commit the Fishmongers Hall terror attack. Now, GBNews has come into possession of the parole board's official documents concerning the release of Shah Jahan, and there is a very revealing line in here. I think we can bring it up for you now. Yes, we can. The Secretary of State, Shabana Mahmood, elected not to be represented at the parole hearing on the 21st of May 2025. So that dangerous jihadi lunatic was released days later. Here he is, several years ago, speaking about how he's happy to be called a terrorist.
My name is Mohammed Shah Jahan. I'm 25 years old and I come from Stoke-on-Trent. Many people have called myself a radical, a fundamentalist, maybe a terrorist even sometimes. But if they say that I'm a terrorist because I'm calling for my faith, then fair enough. It doesn't mean nothing to me because, if anything, it shows that I'm on the footstep of the Prophet Muhammad because he was called a terrorist, a fundamentalist as well.
Do you think that Islamist can be de-radicalised? Because I don't. Here is what a spokesperson for the Justice Secretary told us about this case. They said, this decision was made by the Independent Parole Board. A view opposing release was entered by the Lord Chancellor, that's her, in September 2024. After thorough consideration of the Parole Board's decision, it was concluded there was no legal basis to ask for reconsideration. Let's pick that apart, shall we? So she gave up, didn't she really? She sent a representative in September and then didn't bother to turn up for the following hearing. That's what it seems like to me. This meant there was literally nobody in the room to make the case that this dangerous fanatic intent on mass murder in the name of Allah, whose mates have gone on to commit terror attacks, and we know that there was nobody in that room to oppose his release. Because, let's just bring that document back up again, if we can. Brilliant. It says quite clearly there, all witnesses in the oral hearing supported Mr. Shah Jahan's release and did not consider there would be any more evidence in terms of risk. So there you go. It doesn't seem like there was an opposing voice in the room. Could that not have been our Justice Secretary? This bloke was allowed out in 2019, then he was recalled for breaching his licence conditions. He wanted to set up a terrorist training camp in Pakistan. He wanted to go around attacking pubs in Stoke. Shabana Mahmood's own office told us that she has the power to appeal the decision if she feels it's irrational. Now, in the legal sense, that word irrational means an action that is so illogical, unreasonable or outrageous that no sensible person could have reached it. What do you think? I reckon you think this decision's a bit irrational, don't you? We've got this guy out prowling the streets. I mean, today, our own Home Secretary argued that the rights of asylum seekers trump the rights of the British public, and now it looks like we have a Justice Secretary who hasn't done absolutely everything within her power to keep a dangerous jihadi off our streets. Whose side are these people on? I mean, it's ridiculous. Well, we went to the Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick. I wanted to find out what he thought about what was going on here.
This is a sick jihadi terrorist who was rightly sent down for a long time. And he's the kind of man who you or I would never want to see walking the streets of our country again. But the bad news is, that is exactly what's happened. Because in their wisdom, the parole board released him about 3 months ago. Now, you would have thought that the Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, would have done everything in her power to stop this. Well, she didn't. She could have sent a representative to the parole board's meeting to make the strongest possible argument. She didn't. She could have asked them to reconsider the matter. She didn't. Well, the only thing that she has done is left the British public less safe. She needs to explain why she didn't act and what she's going to do about it now to make sure that everybody is safe with this jihadi terrorist on the streets of our country.
Well, watch out. There's a dangerous jihadi about. Have you had a random call lately from a strange number, maybe trying to sell you something or even scam you? If so, your info could be out there. That's because of data brokers, shady companies that scrape the internet for your personal details and sell them to marketers or even scammers. These days, scammers can even use AI to mimic your friends' voices and trick you into sending money. It's not just annoying. Data brokers often target vulnerable people with high-interest loans or sketchy offers. But there is a solution. Incogni, the sponsor of this video. Incogni contacts data brokers on your behalf and requests your info be deleted from their databases. And because your data can keep popping up, Incogni keeps sending removal requests to make sure it stays gone. They've just launched a new unlimited plan with custom removals. If you find your info on a weird website, just send them the link and their privacy team will work to get it taken down. Getting started is easy. Hit the link in the description, create your account and let Incogni handle the rest. It's risk-free for 30 days and you'll get 60% off an annual plan with the code GBNews. Take back control of your data with Incogni. Let's get the thoughts of my panel. We have got Tory peer Lord Bailey, political commentator Chloe Dobbs and former Labour Party advisor Matthew Larzer. Sean, it does just feel and seem, anyway, to me, that our Justice Secretary didn't do everything within her power to stop this bloke being released.
I believe originally he had an indeterminate sentence and they've been abolished now, hence we're in this situation. And the Home Secretary can't attend every parole board, but let's be very, very clear. This is arguably the most dangerous man we've had in the country in living memory. She should have sent a representative, and that representative should have argued very hard for the safety of the public. Now, God forbid this man comes out and then does something, she'll have a very serious question to ask. And I don't think it's unreasonable to suggest he's still dangerous. He was very happy to be called a terrorist. He was associated with a person who did exactly what we don't want to happen in this case. I really do think she needs to look at it. But the deeper thing is there's too many people in our system who don't understand these people are taking advantage of our liberal system. The idea that you're going to rehabilitate a man who was prepared to kill many, many people with a few meetings and hanging around with some right-on people is going to change things. I'm afraid that's not true. The public need protecting, and this is a case in point. The Justice Secretary, to my mind, has failed miserably.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll come to maybe get the other side of it in a minute, Matthew. I'll start with you, Chloe. I mean, look, it just seems, again, like another very avoidable own goal here from a Labour Party cabinet minister. How could she not feel it necessary to, even if she doesn't care, at least be seen to care about this?
I mean, it's low-hanging fruit to just go along to this one meeting and do the obvious thing, which is not allow an extremely dangerous man on the streets. I mean, if this man goes on to do something similar to what his friend did in 2019 with the London Bridge attack, the blood is on Shabana Mahmood's hands, I would say, and that's going to look absolutely awful for the Labour government. And I just think we've got such a soft-touch system in this country. We've currently got, what's he called, Jihadi Ringo trying to come over from the Supermax prison in the US to here so he can have a nicer, probably plushy Freeview telly. And then we've got this guy trying to get out. And what I imagine is that he's put on his best acting skills to pretend that he is rehabilitated. And these guys are brilliant actors. I interviewed Shamima Begum's first husband, Yago, the ISIS terrorist, and we sat with him and he basically brainwashed us into thinking that he was a lovely kid, hasn't killed a butterfly, never hurt anybody. It wasn't until our producer then debriefed us afterwards to tell us this is who this guy really is. He's just an incredible actor.
Wow.
And I imagine that this jihadi terrorist has just gaslit this whole panel who are soft and don't really realise who they're dealing with. And so I'm really worried about what's going to happen now he's being let out.
Yeah, I mean, so I fully take the idea that Shabana Mahmood herself personally, very busy, whatever, you know, perhaps unrealistic to expect her in person to attend this thing. Fine. But to not send a representative, it meant that there was no government figure in that room, or anyone in that room, it seems, to put the side up, the case up, that this bloke should not be released back onto the streets. I think that's a dereliction of duty, isn't it?
Well, I think we all agree that this guy is a very nasty piece of work and clearly needs to be handled with care, to put it mildly. I mean, I think what happens is the Secretary of State themselves, whatever the party, doesn't attend, but they send a representative in the name of the Secretary of State, which they did to the first hearing. There are limitations limitations to what any Home Secretary can do in terms of overturning the parole board because it has a certain legislative independence. I mean, so it seems that they fought pretty firmly at the first hearing to try and oppose this guy's parole. But what happened is at the second hearing, there were no more cards they could play in the system, so therefore nobody attended. Now that's my understanding. Maybe it would have been better if somebody had attended at least to say that they couldn't play those cards.
That's the point.
That's not strictly
that's
true.
Not true,
She still had the card to play that she thought it was unreasonable. I forget the correct.
It's illogical or irrational in law, I think.
Yeah, and she absolutely should have played that card because it is the correct card to play. And of course, there's the other piece as well, because the one group of people who won't be taken in by this man is the security services. And now they're going to spend multiple hundreds of thousands of pounds for a long period of time tracking this man to keep us safe, which they're on a hiding to nothing because they can only go so far, as our last experience with the jihadi who we released, who hoodwinked us into believing he was safe to have on the streets, did to us all. So I think actually she's absolutely failed. She did have a card to play and she didn't play that card. And should this go wrong, and I really, really don't want it to go wrong, none of us do, because this is a matter of life and death.
People would die if it did. Yeah.
It will reflect badly on the whole government. The one thing she has done, the Secretary of State, though, she has shown her true feelings. By not sending anyone to attend, that's how she truly feels, and you must respect her for displaying her true feelings, but her feelings in this case, I'd argue, are wrong.
Yeah, there is a similar, different cases, obviously different people, but there is a similarity to what we're going to talk about at 10 p.m. I think the most extraordinary, genuinely, I'm not trying to be sensationalist here at all. I know people might laugh at that, I'm really not. I think, honestly, one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen today, a Home Secretary arguing that the rights of asylum seekers trump the rights of British people. You know, that's at the 10 p.m. But you're right in terms of now they've shown us how they feel, haven't they? So there you go. In a sense, that's a good thing. But is there not another discussion to be had here? You know, the Justice Secretary, I think, is you've already said might have blood in her hands if something goes wrong. We hope it doesn't. But serious questions about the parole board here. I mean, you know, how the heck can this guy who's wanted to blow up the London Stock Exchange, set up a jihadi training camp in Pakistan, go on a murderous rampage, has got mates who have done exactly that, has already been reclaimed back from licence for breaching his licence conditions? Who the heck are these people deciding that he can be allowed back out?
I mean, I expect they're probably not that experienced with dealing with terrorists who, as I say, are often highly trained to be very good actors. If it was the Syrian Defence Forces who deal with ISIS terrorists all the time and they listen to his argument, there's probably no way that they would let the guy out because they would know that he is lying through his teeth. I mean, I've been to they're really hard to rehabilitate. I've been to one of these rehabilitation camps with the ISIS children, and you've even got 8-year-olds there where the SDF will say, there's no chance of even rehabilitating this kid who's never gone on to plot a terror attack, but they're indoctrinated from such a young age. It's really hard to get this ideology out of people, and I'm very concerned that this parole board have potentially just listened to him say, I'm not a terrorist anymore, and gone, yep, OK, no problem, out you go.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean,
I don't think he should ever see the light of day again if he's plotted to kill innocent civilians.
Well, I would agree with that. But I mean, there's more detail in this document, which is that essentially they say that he's told people that he realises that maybe he was miseducated about his religion, and that some of his views have changed. That he's willing to be honest as well with the parole boards. Well, there is of course that word taqiyya, I think, isn't there? Which is that you are justified to lie to people who are not of your particular faith, or certainly I'm talking about a more extremist sense here. You're justified to essentially lie to the kafir, which conceivably this guy thinks we all are. So, I don't understand how you can trust the word of a card-carrying jihadi, but nonetheless they have done. But our last line of defence, Matthew, against, I would argue, a very gullible and at times idiotic parole board is the Justice Secretary. And she wasn't even there. She didn't even bother to send anyone there, and she's not appealed it since.
Well, look, I mean, I think the ultimately, I think it's good that these decisions don't rest with politicians. They rest with the parole board, which is independent. They make incredibly difficult decisions every day, even about massively more minor criminals, because obviously all crime has an impact. Obviously, terrorism has arguably the greatest impact of all. Look, as far as I'm concerned, we have to we have to rely on the parole board on this. I hope they're not being naive. They did say no a year ago, so something must have changed in that year. Let's hope in this instance that it's enough that we will remain safe.
Quick final word.
I'm very surprised because the parole board are normally very cautious, and this does not feel like caution to me.
Interesting. Well, look, watch this space. It's important to say there are licensing. It's not like he's just, allowed out like just willy-nilly. I mean, there are licensing conditions. We're not allowed to know exactly what they are, but so we'll just have to trust it, I suppose. So there you go. The Ministry of Justice spokesperson did say to us, again, I'll reiterate, this decision was made by an independent parole board. A view opposing the release was entered by the Lord Chancellor, that's Shabana Mahmood, and that was in September 2024. They say that after thorough consideration of the parole board's decision, it was concluded there was no legal basis to ask for a reconsideration. So that's their view. They're not for budging on it. OK.